Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are bringing you urgent breaking news from the Middle East, where Israel has officially confirmed heavy damage from a strike carried out by Iran-backed Houthi forces. This development marks a dangerous escalation in the ongoing Iran-Israel confrontation and signals that the conflict is spreading further across the region. Reports from Israeli defense officials indicate that the attack involved a combination of drones and ballistic missiles launched from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen. These strikes were aimed at sensitive facilities including infrastructure, connected to energy storage and military installations. Preliminary assessments show significant damage to several structures. Though casualty figures are still being clarified, rescue and emergency teams have been dispatched immediately to secure the targeted zones and provide medical assistance to those injured in the blasts. The Houthis swiftly claimed responsibility for the operation. Their statement framed the strike as a response to Israel's ongoing military actions in Gaza, and as an extension of what they call their resistance against foreign intervention in the region. The group stated that this was only the beginning of a series of operations designed to send a clear message to Israel and its allies about the cost of regional aggression. Analysts note that this is the most direct and damaging strike linked to the Houthis against Israeli territory, raising fears about how broad the conflict may now become. Israel reacted strongly with officials vowing a decisive response. The Prime Minister's office issued a statement condemning the attack and warning that those responsible will face serious consequences. The Israeli Defense Forces immediately raised their alert level and scrambled additional missile defense units to prepare for any follow-up strikes. Military engineers and intelligence officers are currently reviewing radar and satellite data to determine how many projectiles were intercepted and how many managed to bypass air defenses. This incident is being viewed as a failure of layered defense systems that have so far shielded Israel from many external threats. Regional observers say the involvement of the Houthis underlines the degree to which Iran has expanded its network of proxy groups. The Houthis have long been supported with weapons training and intelligence by Tehran. They had previously focused attacks on Saudi Arabia and international shipping routes in the Red Sea. Their decision to now directly strike Israel suggests coordination with Iranian strategic objectives and demonstrates an increasing willingness to widen the battlefield. This could transform the confrontation from a localized war into a broader regional struggle. The United States and European Union have issued statements condemning the strike. Both Washington and Brussels urged restraint, while also reaffirming their support for Israel's. American military officials confirmed that they are in close contact with Israeli defense leaders and are monitoring the situation from bases in the Gulf. However, diplomats acknowledge that the situation is highly volatile. The possibility of Israeli retaliation against Iranian interests could push the entire region closer to all-out conflict. Economic analysts warn that the strike may also impact global markets and energy supplies. The Red Sea and Gulf of Aden are critical trade arteries for oil and shipping. Any disruption due to military escalation or increased risk to shipping could drive energy prices higher. Insurance costs for commercial vessels passing through the region have already risen in response to previous Houthi attacks on maritime traffic. Now, with Israel directly targeted, there is growing fear that shipping companies may divert routes, leading to longer delivery times and increased costs for global trade. Residents in the targeted areas described scenes of panic and confusion as sirens sounded and explosions rocked. Parts of southern Israel, eyewitnesses reported large plumes of smoke rising into the sky and widespread damage to industrial facilities. Local hospitals have been placed on high alert to receive casualties, and the government has opened emergency shelters for those forced to evacuate their homes. Communities living near the impacted sites are bracing for the possibility of additional strikes, and the uncertainty is creating widespread fear. Military experts are analyzing the methods used in the strike. Early reports suggest that the Houthis employed both advanced drones and medium-range missiles. The attack appears to have been coordinated in waves to overwhelm air defenses and maximize damage. If confirmed, this tactic demonstrates a level of sophistication not previously attributed to Houthi operations, raising questions about the extent of Iranian involvement in planning and supplying the technology. Some experts warn that this kind of coordinated strike could set a precedent for future attacks not only against Israel, but against other countries aligned with the West. The Israeli leadership is under immense pressure to respond. Forceful retaliation could target Houthi positions in Yemen or even strike Iranian assets directly. However, any such move carries significant risk of escalation and could ignite simultaneous fronts in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. The Israeli cabinet is reportedly holding emergency sessions to discuss response options, while military commanders prepare various scenarios ranging from limited strikes to broader regional operations. The decision will be critical in shaping the next phase of this confrontation. On the streets of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and other major cities, the mood is tense. Citizens are following breaking news updates closely, and there is an atmosphere of both anger and anxiety. Many Israelis view this attack as proof that the threats from Iran's network of proxies are now a direct danger to their daily lives. Civil defense organizations are conducting readiness drills and distributing safety instructions, urging residents to stay near shelters and remain alert to further sirens. The sense of vulnerability is more acute than in previous incidents due to the scale of the damage confirmed. Regional neighbors are also reacting. Saudi Arabia has not yet issued an official statement, but sources indicate deep concern that the conflict could spill further across the Arabian Peninsula. Egypt is monitoring the situation closely given its role as a mediator in previous ceasefire agreements. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, which normalized relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords, are quietly reviewing their own security postures, fearing potential backlash from Iran and its allies. The entire Middle East is on edge as leaders calculate the risks of further escalation. International organizations are attempting to intervene. The United Nations has called for calm, urging all parties to avoid actions that could destabilize the region further. However, the effectiveness of such appeals remains doubtful, given the entrenched positions and the scale of grievances involved. With Israel suffering confirmed heavy damage from the strike, and the Houthis pledging more operations, it appears unlikely that either side is prepared to step back from confrontation. The situation also underscores the evolving nature of modern warfare. Non-state actors like the Houthis have demonstrated the ability to carry out complex operations with long-range drones and missiles bypassing traditional geographic limits. Their capacity to inflict damage on a state like Israel, supported by advanced defense systems, shows how asymmetric warfare is reshaping regional conflicts. Technology once limited to state militaries is increasingly in the hands of militias, altering the balance of power and creating new challenges for international security. As news of the strike spreads, reactions across global capitals are pouring in. European governments are calling emergency consultations to assess potential threats to their own energy security. The United Kingdom has placed naval forces on heightened alert in the Red Sea to safeguard shipping lanes. France has dispatched additional surveillance aircraft to monitor movements across the region. The sense of urgency is palpable as policymakers scramble to adapt to a rapidly shifting landscape. Markets have already begun responding. Oil prices edged upward in early trading as fears of supply disruption took hold. Stock exchanges in the Middle East experienced volatility, with investors bracing for uncertainty. The Israeli shekel weakened against major currencies, reflecting concerns over the economic fallout of a prolonged confrontation. Economic experts predict that sustained conflict could affect regional investment inflows, tourism, and long-term growth prospects. For ordinary citizens, the worry is not only security, but also rising costs of living and reduced economic stability. Diplomatic circles are now focused on whether Israel will retaliate directly against Iran. Such a move could trigger a chain reaction, drawing in Hezbollah in Lebanon and other Iranian-backed groups across the region. That scenario would dramatically widen the war and create new humanitarian crises. Already, aid organizations are warning of increased displacement in Yemen, Gaza, and potentially Lebanon. If the fighting escalates, the capacity of humanitarian agencies to respond is stretched thin, and further conflict will only intensify the suffering of civilians. Inside, Israel political divisions are sharpening. Opposition leaders are accusing the government of failing to anticipate and prevent the strike. They argue that intelligence agencies should have detected preparations earlier and that air defense systems require urgent upgrades. Government officials are defending their response, emphasizing that the scale of the attack was unprecedented and that most projectiles were successfully intercepted. Still, the debate reflects deeper political rifts within the country that could influence decision-making at a critical moment. In Yemen, the Houthis are celebrating the strike as a symbolic victory. Their media channels are broadcasting images and slogans portraying the attack as a historic blow against Israel. Supporters in the streets of Sana'a were seen chanting slogans and waving flags, presenting the operation as part of their broader struggle against what they call foreign aggression. This propaganda is expected to fuel further recruitment and strengthen their position domestically, even as Yemen continues to suffer from years of devastating conflict. For Iran, the strike represents an opportunity to demonstrate the reach and effectiveness of its regional alliances. Iranian officials have denied direct involvement, but praised the Houthis for their actions. Iranian state media framed the event as proof that Israel cannot act with impunity in the region. Analysts say that Iran is carefully balancing denial with signaling maintaining plausible deniability while also showcasing the power of its proxy network. This strategy makes it harder for adversaries to hold Iran directly accountable while still advancing its strategic goals. As the situation unfolds, ordinary people across the region remain caught in the middle. In Israel, families are rushing to stock up on essential supplies and staying close to shelters. In Yemen, civilians continue to endure bombings, blockades, and shortages exacerbated by years of war. The human toll of this confrontation is mounting on both sides, with ordinary citizens bearing the brunt of political and military decisions they cannot control. Human rights organizations are warning that without immediate de-escalation, the humanitarian impact could become catastrophic. The broader geopolitical implications are also becoming clear. The strike adds another layer of complexity to already strained relations between the United States and Iran. Nuclear negotiations are effectively frozen, and Washington is under pressure to demonstrate support for Israel while avoiding a direct military clash with Tehran. Russia and China are also watching closely, with Moscow criticizing Western responses and Beijing urging restraint while safeguarding its energy interests in the Gulf. The conflict is increasingly becoming a global issue, with major powers entangled by alliances, energy needs, and security commitments. As the hours pass, Israel continues its damage assessments and prepares for possible next steps. The scale of destruction is still being catalogued, but early indications confirm that vital infrastructure has been significantly impacted. Whether Israel chooses a restrained response or escalates militarily, the consequences will shape the regional landscape for months, if not years, to come. For now, the situation remains fluid, with every new statement and action watched closely by governments, citizens, and markets around the world. We will continue to bring updates as more information becomes available. Stay tuned for verified reports and ongoing analysis as this story develops, and as the world waits to see what Israel's response will be to one of the most direct and damaging strikes it has ever faced from Iran-backed Houthis.